Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
No, sometimes it has to wake up. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Small Business Development Committee. Just for the record, I see we have a quorum. And so we'll begin. I'd like to call on Representative Noel Williams for the opening prayer.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all your many wonderful blessings in life. Thank you for the honor that we're given to serve as representatives. We ask you to be with us, lead us and guide us and give us wisdom. We pray these things in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, Representative Williams. Well, we've got a busy agenda today. We have the realtors that are going to come make a presentation and the contractors that are going to make a presentation today. And then we're going to close it out. I've got a little bill that I want to present to the committee in about 8:50. We'll do that. So at this point in time, we'd like to start with Brad Mock. Brad, come on to the podium. You're the Director of Government Affairs. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your members, and the podium is yours.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for having us this morning. Thanks for being with us and giving us an opportunity. I look forward to introducing you to two great realtors. You know some of our folks. We've got some in the building now. We've got some here with us this morning, but we've brought a couple in with us today, one for the residential market and one for the commercial market. Across this state, we have 46,000 members spread across every county and every city. The state association breaks into 50 local boards. So a lot of y'all have probably had interactions with your local realtor members, and they have autonomy on their own. So when they ask you to come out to those luncheons and come out to those forums and have those discussions with them and work on issues, those are genuine asks from them. Rarely are we motivating that conversation. Most of the time, they're just being good realtors and trying to get to know you guys as they move forward. Most years we have Realtor Day, and it's the day we kind of clog the halls a little bit, and we wear the blue scarves and we have our pins, and all the realtors come up and say hello, and we discuss a few items that are current for the session, and we discuss a few items that are general, that are always issues for the realtors and for private property rights, for home ownership, for commercial development. Unfortunately, this year we won't be able to bring 800 to 1,000 members up here. So what we're going to try to do is kind of bring the capital back to them later this week. So we've got a few videos lined up and a few interviews. You might get a phone call here and there, or have an email for them just reaching out, saying hello and saying, hey, we weren't able to be there this year in person. We sure miss you, but I hope that you guys, I hope that you do get quite a few of those. I hope you'll have an opportunity to have a phone call with them, whatever it is, maybe throughout the session. We're not going to crash your systems and bring everybody in on the same day, but I do hope you get to have those conversations. Before we hear from these two wonderful ladies that are with us, I wanted to let you know that for 101 years now, last year was 100 years for the Georgia Association of Realtors. For 101 years, our topics have generally stayed the same. They're private property, home ownership, commercial development, license law, protecting the transaction, title chain. That just turns into this big bailiwick. Those 5 or 6 items, we don't have 3 or 4 bills or one bill every year. We wind up with quite a few. We wind up with a lot of big, heady ideas like protecting and promoting workforce housing, protecting the transaction as we move forward, and things like that. So that's why so often, I may come to you guys with a lot of different ideas or a lot of different issues that we're working on or we're playing defense on. It's a cliche phrase around here, but it's true, right? So we may have a lot of those things, but the good news is you'll always have us as that one voice. There's 3 of us here representing the Georgia Association of Realtors. None of us have any other clients. So we'll always be working those issues. We'll always be working real estate centric issues, workforce housing issues, commercial development issues, transaction type issues, and license law. So generally that's what we stick to, and that's where we stay. I'm thankful for that opportunity so that we only bring you those kinds of issues. Private property is about as basic an American right as there is, in my opinion. That may sound a little naive, and it may sound like I'm saying that for the company line, but really that's why I came to be with the realtors. And I think that's why they have such a strong association. Most licensees in the state are realtors, but all licensees are not. Realtors are held to a code of ethics, a higher standard. And I think our folks are exemplary of that every day. We rarely have issues, and they're such a great resource for us to talk about legislative issues. They're a great resource for us to talk about the things that you guys need. We carry issues back to them. I don't have the authority to just show up and say, hey, this is a big issue. We got to hammer this workforce housing thing. We take those things back and we meet with those members every week. And we meet with folks like Chairman Washburn used to be a member of our committees. And we say, hey, this is a big issue. This looks like something that we need to get involved with. And those members kind of push us forward as we go along. And then we carry your ideas to them. So when you guys see stuff, whether it be rentals, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, whatever those items are, when you see those things in your community and you need help with them, we carry those issues back, try to get their information and try to help you carry those tasks forward. So generally speaking, it was not my idea to carry any legislative issues to you today, but to kind of give you a kind of that overview of what we would be doing if it was a normal year, bringing our realtors up. We'd be talking with you about issues. We'd be explaining the things we're working on and trying to tell you why we need to work those issues moving forward. You're going to hear from two wonderful folks today. And before I bring them up, I just want to drop a couple of general topics and not bills. But generally, workforce housing is still a huge issue for us in this state. The housing supply in general is extremely low. But finding something that is affordable for working folks wherever they are, whether they're in Cairo or Americus or Sylvester or downtown Atlanta, finding something that is affordable for them for working people is extremely difficult. Material costs is through the roof. You guys know that. And that's a big part of it, but that's not all of it. And there's continuing conversations about those issues. And I would love to talk with you some more about those kinds of things as we move forward. Protecting property owners' rights to rent their property, long-term and short-term. Those are big issues that have been around for quite a long time. There's been study committees on rentals, I think since 2014. So that's something that I would imagine will continue to come up. It's an opportunity for a lot of folks, depending on what area they're in. We hear the stories. It's not all just vacation rentals. There's a lot of rentals out there that people need, whether they're doing cancer treatment and they need somewhere to live that's not the Holiday Inn. I've got no issues with the Holiday Inn, but they need a place where they can cook their own meals, where their family can stay with them, where they can have the grandkids over. If they do that for less than 30 days, that's a short-term rental. So it's an ongoing conversation for us because the realtors have been doing rentals for a very long time. Platforms are new. Realtors are 101 years old. They've been doing weekend rentals, 2-week rentals, 3-week rentals for a very long time. So those are the kinds of things that we continue to have discussions about along with workforce housing as we move throughout. And of course, if there's any license law issues, we're continuing to work on that. So I know I kind of breezed through quite a few of those things, but I wanted to save some time to get my folks up here. They mean a lot to me, and I appreciate so much for you inviting them here, and I just can't wait to get to them. So I apologize for moving a little fast. You guys all have my contact in this room, so I know that you'll reach out if you have questions, and I'll follow up with you as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it so much.
Okay. Brad, thank you very much for
Yes,
your
sir.
presentation. Will you be kind enough to introduce the next presenters?
I would love to. I believe on the agenda, or I don't have it in front of me. I think our Atlanta Commercial President, Jody Selvey, is our first, is our first speaker for today. So she's going to give you some insight into the state of commercial real estate, looking back on 2020, looking forward to what's new in this new world. We're all doing this virtually, but what does that do to real estate? Kind of moving forward from a commercial perspective, looking back on 2020 and before that, where are we going from here? And then, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, I guess I'll hold off and I'll introduce our next realtor after that, if that makes sense. So yes, sir. Jody, if you'll come on up and I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Jody Selvey. I am the Senior Vice President and Principal at Colliers International. I'm also the President of the Atlanta Commercial Board of Realtors. Just a little background information. We are the largest commercial board in the United States with 2,400 members, and we're involved in all facets of commercial real estate. I myself specialize in office leasing and sales. I've been doing this for 33 years. I was asked to come talk about how has the pandemic impacted the state of commercial real estate. And I will open with, it has not been the same in all of the various areas, which would be office, industrial, multifamily, and hospitality and land. Land has been probably hit the hardest, right up there with hospitality. On the office side, it's been very uneven. We've seen some tremendous leases done in the past year with Papa John's, Google, and Microsoft that are all landing in our city. They say they want to go back to the office. And then we've got a lot of small businesses in my own building, which has 750,000 square feet. The food service has not been open since last March. The sundry shop is dying on the vine. And the coffee shop is, barely surviving with 300 people in a building that normally has 1,700 people. And we're seeing this all across the city. I'm working on a deal right now at a very prominent corner that's going to have a 32-story multifamily apartment building. And we've gone through 10 extensions because of the lending that's going on. And a lot of the lenders are afraid now to lend in this arena. On office leasing, for the first time, we got our statistics yesterday. For the first time in 12 years, the rates on office space have started to drop. And the only reason they've started to drop now is because all of the owners in the past year, the brokers were a mean lot and were coming and, saying, we want lower rent, we want more free rent, we want more concessions. And they, were giving us the Heisman saying, this is a temporary problem. We're not going to lower our rates. Well, they're having to do that now because there's 5 million square feet of sublease space that has been dumped on the market by big tenants and small tenants. In the past week alone, I've had 2 small attorneys, both with 5 to 7 people in their practice. One called me saying they needed more space. The other said, I need to get rid of all of my space. We figured out how to do this work from home thing. So the work from home thing is going to be great for a lot of people, and it's going to devastate complete industries because of that. And as a commercial real estate agent, we need help from the state saying, go back to work. I mean, our office has been open since June. We've been very successful, but we don't have more than 20% of people in there at any given time. On the industrial front, it's been crazy nuts busy. As soon as everyone went home, everyone got out their phone and started ordering like crazy from Amazon, Walmart, and Target. And because of that, the industrial space has gone nuts. You can't find it. It's leasing very quickly. They had the best year in forever. Cold storage space for all of these grocery stores has gone through the roof. You can't find it. You can't build it fast enough. So it's been very uneven, and hospitality has been devastated. We're starting to see some sales in hospitality, and they're basically sales where people are desperate. They need to get out. So there's a lot of opportunistic, I'm not going to use the term vulture, opportunistic buyers. So I'm open for questions if anybody has any.
Okay, are there any questions from members here? What about online? Are there any questions from members online? Well, great. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jody. So our next realtor that is with us is also our Georgia Association of Realtors statewide president. Dory Love is from Fayette County and will be bringing us a report on the residential side of the real estate market.
Good morning, Chairman Chokas and committee members. Thank you so much for allowing us to present before you today. I am Dory Love. I've been in the real estate business in Fayette, Coweta County, South Atlanta since 1996, 25 years. And in my 25 years, I have never seen inventory levels this low. That is the number one thing that all of my local associations is telling me is the biggest problem they're facing is there just aren't enough houses to sell. Can't force people that already have houses to get out because they don't have anywhere to go. As soon as a house goes on the market, the days on market, it's hours, it's minutes in some cases. It's absolutely insane. What we did learn in 2020 is how to do residential real estate a little differently. We all pivoted. We all learned to do 3D Matterport video tours so you can actually walk through a house without physically walking through the house. A lot of the companies offered virtual tours of different types. We had agents come in without the buyer. I sold 2 or 3 houses last year to buyers that never saw it, didn't even come to closing to see it. I don't know what they thought when they actually got to Georgia and they moved into their house. I didn't get a call back, so I'm assuming they loved it. But that's the type of business that we had in 2020. 2021 there's still not enough houses to sell. Double-digit appreciation of pricing from 19 to 20, just about all over the state. Everybody is saying the average sales price of their homes jumped, 9 to 13% in 1 year. And we're not really seeing that go down. There's a couple of little pockets that had a slight decrease, but the average number of sales, closed homes, same thing, double digits. In Carpet Capital to Savannah to Thomasville. I was talking to all of my colleagues all over the state. We meet once a month with the state leadership and the local board leadership to discuss what's happening, what services and tools that the Georgia Association of Realtors can offer to them to help them do business smarter. The other thing I wanted to tell you is right now, Georgia Multiple Listing Service covers all 159 counties that we have. There's 7,826 single-family residential homes in Georgia MLS right now, and that covers a lot of the state. There are 14,709 pending contracts. So, we could get more contracts if we had more homes to sell. I'm married to a custom home builder. Building a home right now, he guarantees a price for 25 days. This price is good for your home for no more than 30 days because I don't know what my lumber package is going to cost the next month, right? And we decided to build a home during the pandemic. I got my CO 2 weeks ago. This is moving week and I'm here with y'all, so I got to take a break today. So the logistics, the supply chain, all those things, builders can't build houses fast enough. Quite frankly, in our area, there's hardly any new construction. In Peachtree City today, my office is with Harry Norman Realtors in Peachtree City. There are 35 homes for sale in Peachtree City. And out of those 35, 10 of them are $1 million plus. Really? Affordability, and we can't seem to find our average sales prices are going up, and that's great, right? Everybody says that's great. I want to live in a community like that, but can you afford to at $1 million? Maybe you can. But anyway, I'm seeing that and hearing that from all over the state. So my job is to make sure that I have my pulse on what's going on in Savannah, in Augusta, in Dalton, and down in St. Mary's in Golden Isles. So, we're very thankful. Most of my colleagues, a lot of them are saying that 2020 was the best year they ever had in real estate. And the number one thing we have to thank is our governor for deeming real estate as an essential service. It kept us in business. I can't imagine what I would be saying if that had not happened. And I had co-op deals with an agent in Pennsylvania who couldn't get her person sold for me to close my sale down here. And it took 90 days. I've never had a sale take 90 days on a resale transaction, but because they were shut down in Pennsylvania, it just took that long. So we were very fortunate in our state that real estate was able to keep going. And people still had to move, people still had to change jobs and do all these things. So I did want to definitely make note that we are very grateful for that because, again, 2020 was a banner year in real estate and 2021 has started off with a bang. We just need more homes to sell.
Ms. Love, thank you very much for that presentation.
Absolutely.
Before we go to other questions, why
Why?
was it such a banner year? Was it because of the COVID? Because what was the reason for?
I think there were a lot of things. The biggest thing is that interest rates were so low. 3% at the beginning of 2020, I believe, 2.5% kind of midway through 2020. I locked in at a 2.75. So, that is compelling. We have a lot in my area. I will speak to my area. A lot of people that are empty nesting. They're selling the big homes, getting something smaller. I actually was just talking to Mr. Dunham over here. He said Fayette County was a great place to raise a family, but now he's up in what county again now?
West Cobb.
He's in West Cobb now. He said, we sold the big house. We raised our kids there. It was great. Now I got to get closer to work. There was a lot of examples just like him. In our area, we're called a bedroom community. We don't have an interstate running through Fayette County. So you move to Fayette County, you're kind of getting away from it a little bit. The schools are good. You know, it's just a great place to be. And people just took advantage of it. I mean, they said, yeah, I want to sell my house now. I want to move to Florida. I want to move to the mountains. I mean, the mountain market right now up in Northeast Georgia is insane. The inventory level, I mean, they can't keep, I mean, they're selling the second home destination, the second home markets are selling like crazy because people are selling the big houses or, you know, and they're downsizing or getting their dream house because they can afford it right now. What that's going to be next year or the next year, who knows?
Great, thank you. In the interest of time, and I know we have several questions here, but Dale, do you want to go ahead and finish it out? Because we got to make enough time for our contractors.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you
Y'all have a
very
wonderful
much.
day.
Are we going to be able to ask questions?
That's on Zoom.
Good.
They just asked if we could ask questions on Zoom.
On Zoom, yes, we will be able to a little bit later.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. Thanks to Brad and Jody and Dory for their presentation. I'm going to try to sort of pull all this together and tie it to public policy if I can. As you know, I was in the real estate industry for 45 years and was very active in the Georgia Association of Realtors, and it was a great blessing to me to be there. And they have been a great help to me in my pursuit of a legislative career, and I'm forever grateful for them, for that. Of course, it goes without saying, when we think about real estate, there's the economic side. Whenever development is going on and building is going on, whether it's residential or commercial, jobs are created, money's earned, revenue comes into our state to pay for the things that we need, and revenue goes into the local economy as well through the tax digest. And so we know on the economic side that real estate is a huge engine in our economy. There's another side to it as well I always like to point out, and that's the social side. You know, it is more than dollars and cents, because when you start building homes for people, that's where little children gather around a dinner table at night and spend time with their parents, and that's where they are raised in a good, safe environment where we're able to teach them how to live in the future and how to get up and go to work every day and do an honest, honorable service for someone and get paid for it, and then go buy another service from someone else. So a good environment for the real estate business is a very important thing economically, but it also is important socially. And so I want to kind of finish today. When I came to the legislature, I would always say during my campaign speech, if you send me to Atlanta, I will vote for what's best for Georgia's families and what's best for Georgia business. And truthfully, I've always found those two things to be very compatible. The other thing I have found to be is compatible is what's good for the real estate industry is good for Georgia. What's good for the real estate industry is good in our areas of public policy. And I have never really found anything where I've come to speak on behalf of the real estate industry. I've never seen anything that was in conflict with what is good for Georgia. So I would urge you in your work here to always be aware that less regulation is better than more regulation. Somebody say amen there, Representative Lurke. Less regulation. Regulation is like vitamin E. You need some of it, but too much of it will kill you. And we've got to be very, very conscious at every level of government that we need regulation that is necessary, but not too much. Too much taxation and too much regulation is not good for Georgia business, and it's not good for the real estate industry. And a healthy real estate industry is good for Georgia. Thank you so much for allowing me and my colleagues to be here today. It's been an honor to be with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Washburn. I appreciate it. Next, representing the contractors, Mark Woodall. Would you please start the program off?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Mark Woodall. I'm the Director of Governmental Affairs for Associated General Contractors of Georgia. Tell you a little bit about our national organization and how we got started here. And I don't think we're as old as the Realtors, but in 1918, President Woodrow Wilson wanted an advisory body on construction matters. The country was getting ready to undergo a big infrastructure effort across the country. And a group of contractors met in Chicago with the president, and the national organization got started, 1918. We were founded in Georgia in 1928 and been trying to represent contractors in various forms, obviously a General Assembly since. So we have about 600 and some odd company members, our general members are general contractors. We have associate members that are subcontractors, suppliers, surety firms, anyone that has an impact, insurance companies on the industry. And so it's been my pleasure, again, to represent this group. This is my 25th year in Georgia, had 10 years prior to that in Florida. I followed my boss up here right before the Olympics, and they're just a tremendous group of people. They get up early, they work late, they make it rain. Representative Washburn, I'm going to steal your vitamin E quote somewhere down the line. I think that's great. I'm going to introduce my boss, who I've had the pleasure of working with really for my 35 years. When I was in Miami, he was in Jacksonville. I got to Tallahassee. He was one of my bosses, and I followed him up here right before the Olympics. Mike's going to talk to you about our number one issue. You've heard from the realtors about the inventory for our homes. There's a lot of tremendous work going on in the commercial arena as well. Our biggest challenge is we don't have the skilled labor to do the work. So Mike's going to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing to get to parents, to get to the students, to let them understand a 4-year career with a psychology degree is maybe it's not the best plan. And Mike will talk to you a little bit about that, and then he'll have the pleasure of introducing our president, Mr. Moody, and I think you really will enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Again, my name is Mike Dunham. I am the CEO for the Associated General Contractors of Georgia. AGC Georgia is not as old as the realtors. We're only 93 years old. We represent the largest contractors in the state. Everybody downtown's got a tower crane, but we also represent the heart and soul of this industry, which is the family-owned businesses across the state, the big and the small. We've got members all over from Brunswick to Toccoa and back again. They're the ones that do the public works. Most of our schools and public works are done by AGC members. But we also have some folks that have never done a dime worth of work for the public entities, but they also have built 150 CVS pharmacies. So the sector of our membership covers the waterfront. Mark mentioned workforce development. I put in front of you a real quick newsletter. It talks about the issue of the day. And it will be our issue for the rest of time. And that's getting young men and women to see a career path into workforce, into construction. We need more of everything: carpenters, plumbers, electricians, welders. We need young people to go to the universities and come out with a construction degree and go into estimating and project management and be a superintendent. And to do that, you have to win the hearts and minds of the young people and their parents and their influencers. And we've got a lot of initiatives over the last 15 years to do just that. I challenge my membership every day that this is our problem. No one fixes this for us but us. We have to take ownership. We have to get into the school systems. We have to make explain how you get into construction and the kind of great career you can have for it. Mark mentioned the psychology degree, and I'm not knocking that you can make a fine living and a great career in psychology, but I can tell you there's a lot more need for carpenters, electricians, and plumbers than there are psychologists. So we know we have a problem. We're addressing it. We're getting out in the schools. We're starting now as low as the 5th grade. We need to get young people. I'm going to finish on this story because I want to get to Dave's presentation because he's the businessman in our group. My wife taught kindergarten for 37 years. And the most exciting part of a kindergartner's day is when they have center time and they get to play with Legos and Tinker Toys and Lincoln Logs and Play-Doh. They come into this world as a builder. They are all designers and artists. Just look at the hallway of a kindergarten wing, and everybody's putting art up every day. It covers the refrigerator. We know we need to grab that interest in our industry at an early age and never let it die, and to get those people to see the ability to be in our industry and be very successful in their life. So we're working it. Be happy before this is over to answer any questions about workforce development. But I want to get right to giving Dave the opportunity to tell you what it takes to be a small businessman in our industry. It's a fact. Nobody goes in and out of business more often than contractors than the Restaurant Association. They start and they fail and they start again. Contractors have the same challenge. It's a very regulated industry. Every single day they have to put it on the line to make payroll, to make an industry work, take tremendous risk. And so their challenges are great. And the ones that are successful, particularly if they go into the second, third, and fourth generations, have been tremendously successful. And so with that, Dave Moody is our chapter president, general contractor here in Atlanta. Has had great success with a lot of historic projects that have built our community. And I want to give Dave the floor and let him tell you about what it takes to be a small businessman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, how's everybody doing? All right, thanks, Mike. Now, this is my first time since COVID in public to be president. So Mark, you need to take a quick picture so the membership can see I'm actually doing something. Just 1 second, folks. COVID has wiped us out. All right, thank you. Man, thank you so much for having us. And it's true. I'm the first African-American to be president of AGC. In 1989, I became a member. I had been in business 1 year. And I remember sitting in that room with all the big contractors. I was doing maybe slightly under $1 million a year. I was scared to death. And lo and behold, 32 years later, I'm president. That says something about our industry and about who we are. But more importantly, I want to talk to you about what is this journey. And just for you, Mike, you probably forgot, I have a degree in psychology and a degree in architecture. So let's not talk about psychologists like the degree is useless. But anyway, after I finished Morehouse College here in Atlanta, I came to Atlanta in 1974 to Morehouse College. I'm probably some of the few people you'll meet. I used to be a MARTA bus driver. MARTA used to hire college students to relieve the vacation and bus drivers. And that's how I learned my way around Atlanta. And 5 Points, before the train was still the main location, I used to drive a route around the state capitol in 1977. That was the most incredible summer job I ever had in my life. 21 years old driving a MARTA bus. And like most of you, as a kid, I grew up playing with Lego building blocks, erector sets, making model airplanes. And after I finished Morehouse, I went to Howard University and got my degree in architecture. And I started my career with Bechtel Power Corporation, one of the largest engineering construction companies in the world. And I was in the Ann Arbor, Michigan office in nuclear power. I got married, and 8 months after being married, my wife's parents were 2 miles to the left, and my parents were 2 miles to the right. And I said, we're gonna be happily married, we leaving. So we came back to Atlanta. So here I come to Atlanta. I tell my wife, baby, I got this great opportunity with this small construction company in Atlanta. Just come with me, trust me. 2 months after I was here, that company goes bankrupt for not making payroll taxes, paying their payroll taxes. That was my first lesson in entrepreneurship, working for someone. Can you imagine? I hadn't been married a year yet. I take my wife from her place she had lived her whole life. I bring her down south and I tell her, baby, I got this great idea. And 2 months later, I don't have a job. So now I'm working for these small companies. Unfortunately, this is when long distance phone calls were expensive. So my in-laws couldn't chew me out too bad. They just said, you got my baby down there and what's going to happen? So I started working for small companies, small construction companies for the next 3 or 4 years. And the job that made me decide that I was going to go in for myself was I was working for a small contractor. He also was a bail bondsman. So the construction company was in the bail bonding office off Jefferson Street. So some days I'd be doing estimates and stuff, and it'd be somebody, if they were busy, handcuffed next to me. I'm like, this is really weird. So one day they say, hey, Dave, we need you to go with us for a minute. So I'm thinking we're going to look at a project. And he said, well, Dave, you know, you played football in college and stuff, put this blue jacket on. We think we found one of our bail jumpers. We want you at the back door. We're going to be at the window in the front. And I said to myself, if he comes out the back door, he's free, because that's not what I do. I'm a builder. So I went home after that and told my wife, I said, you know what? I think we're going to give it a shot on our own. So but we were broke trying to make ends meet. I was able to borrow a little money. And my first contract was at Underground Atlanta and the renovation of Underground Atlanta right around the corner from here. But the one thing I underestimated, I've been in business now, be 33 years next month, is what it takes to make payroll every week and how people count on you. You know, we always think of these big Fortune 100, Fortune 1000 companies, but it's us, this individual owners. I would pace the floor sometime at 4:30 in the morning, wondering how am I gonna make ends meet? Then I started realizing people were feeding their families based on the decisions I made and the work they did, but more importantly, having payroll. People ask me about all the projects we've built, and they said, what are you most proud of? I say, I am most proud of, I have never missed a payroll in 33 years, nor been late. But what people don't understand for a small and mid-sized business people, there is a stress that comes with being responsible for other people like that. I have employees who've been with me for over 25 years. I saw their little kids. Now their kids are grown. They've bought houses. They send people to college based off the decisions business owner making that payroll. So anything you can do to help us is critical. During COVID, it's been very stressful because if one person gets sick on a job site, the whole job has to go through all kinds of changes. It's been incredible what we've had to go through. And I'm thankful that we were considered a essential workforce. I mean, if we had to lay off all the construction workers, we would have been in a world of hurt. And even though we had to lay off some, and it's hurtful because a lot of industries, they said earlier, office buildings, hotels, schools and stuff, that construction has dropped. So even though you're seeing a lot of big construction, that small and mid-sized contractor is suffering because the work that a lot of us was doing is going away because of COVID. So we need your help, but never, ever underestimate the power of making that payroll. And I'll tell you a quick story. Do I still have a couple minutes? In 1992, my business was 4 years old. And I speak publicly now about this around the country. I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and I had never said anything to anybody. I had planned on dying with my secret. And in 1992, I finally told my wife what had happened to me because it was really eating at me. And all of a sudden, about a month or so later, I started having panic attacks and I had a complete breakdown, but I couldn't tell anybody. I had to suffer in silence because my business was 4 years old. I was afraid people wouldn't want to work with me or whatever. You know, if you had a mental breakdown like that from a trauma, you were thought of as weak. But I still had to make payroll. I had people that were counting on me. So I had to suffer through that whole process. But I'm thankful to God and my wife, who's a registered nurse. She was a hospice nurse for 20 years. They helped me navigate through that. But all I could think about was not me, was how do I keep making sure the business keeps going so my folks can keep getting paid. This is so important that we are supported. You keep believing that you can make a difference. But the small and mid-sized business person, we're the backbone. And making that payroll, it's nothing to play with. We have to make it. And I'm gonna close with this about the importance of our workforce. I have people who work for me who finished high school, went to trade school, became very skilled, who make over 6 figures a year. We need to get our vocational ed back strong. We need people in this field. I feel bad because when I was in high school, I remember I wanted to take a home building class. This is 1973, my senior year. And they fall of 73, they said, you can't take home building because you're in college prep. I said, but I want to be an architect. I want to learn how to build. Well, you can't mix the two. We shouldn't make children decide so early about what track they're in. Because even though I became an architect by degree and worked as an architect, I can't build nothing because I never learned that skilled trade, which I wish I could have. So please help us by supporting all these things that we're trying to do. And let's get our young folks interested in construction and realize the stress and the commitment to making payroll every week is nothing to play with. And I thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'll answer them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We've got about 5 minutes for questions. I think I need 10 minutes to present a bill, but we've got 5 minutes for questions. And Blake, I want you to help me with this. Let's go with Dominic first.
Number 4. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to some of the committee members I haven't had an opportunity to talk to yet, and I'm going to try to be brief, but with our conversations into the future about general contractors and construction, I'm fixing to make a statement that I will have to elaborate to you on at a later date. I've never seen an industry as prosperous as the construction industry work so hard to put themselves out of business as I have in the 7 years I've been up here. It won't be long, you'll have to have a certificate to dig a fence post hole to put a post in it. I don't know if y'all remember here not too many years ago, you have to be a licensed general contractor now to build a house, when I was younger, they didn't want the technical college to educate you. They bought me a tool belt and said, come work with me. I'll show you how to build a house, lay out steps, pour concrete, deck a roof. But that same industry will come in here and say, hey, we got a little bit of regulation we need you to work with us on. And I'll walk you through over the next couple of weeks and even into this summer about how you want to open up the general contractors, the construction industry. You let every individual who wants to build a utility building or to help frame a house or to help work in the plumbing, mechanical, heating and air, don't make them be a master to be able to say, hey, I can help you deck your house. Don't make them be a master to come in and be an apprentice in the heating and air conditioning business. We've got to start pulling back on some of these obstacles that are keeping people out of the construction business, and they'll stand right there at that microphone and be mad with you because you want to make it more accessible. So if we will be very careful about what they ask for when we try to help them, and then what they'll stand up and fight you when you try to take regulations away. That's not what's beneficial to small businesses. Every person that stepped up to that microphone this session in small business has said what? Thank you, Governor, for letting us keep working. But they'll also step right back up to that microphone and say, hey, we got a little bill we need you to help us with that'll ultimately help keep a smaller person from having more opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Kendrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. And thank you to David Moody, if he's still there. He hails from the great state of DeKalb County. So I always like to highlight the great people that we have in DeKalb County. My question is for Brad, if he's still there, from the Georgia Realtors Association. I know that through the pandemic, there was either an emergency order through the governor that allowed for electronic signatures for real estate contracts. And I wanted to see, is that going to be extended past the pandemic, one? And two, how are we making sure, because you usually have attorneys at these closings, how are we making sure that people understand the terms of this agreement if they are signing electronically?
Appreciate the question. The executive orders allowed for remote online notary and some aspects of what we call virtual closings. To your point, Georgia is an attorney closing state. There's a lot to that simple sentence, but every closing transaction requires an attorney to be there present for that process. There's currently some language out there for remote online notary, which would open up more of that virtual space for a transaction to occur. Not fully virtually representative, but in a virtual process. So there's still language out there. To your question about what's going to continue, the buyers and sellers are still at a table or virtually at a table and an attorney is still present. We'll still be an attorney state, whether or not the representative's remote online notary bill passes forward or not. Georgia will still be an attorney state, so they'll still have a presence there to help answer those questions, walk them through that process. And our realtors would never answer any legal questions, but coming into that transaction, of course, they'd offer as much help as they can.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you. We've got Chairman Blackman. Number 22, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really wanted to thank this gentleman for his testimony. I don't know where Mr. Woodall's been hiding him, but I hope you'll come back and speak to us a little bit more. I think you really encapsulated what small business means and what it's all about, and especially going into the technical education component of that as well. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for those comments. At this time, we're going to have to stop the questions because I'm trying to get a bill out. Could I get Representative Larikia to come take over for me?
All right, Mr. Chairman, floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate y'all being here. We got this out of subcommittee yesterday and I'd like to get it on the floor as soon as possible. And I'm reading House Bill 611 LC 500185. This legislation in the state procurement definition takes small business and adds 3 tiers to that. Currently, the definition of small business is simply 300 or fewer employees and $30 million or less in gross receipts. We're changing that, and we're not changing small business definition, but we're adding 3 tiers. Tier 1 is 10 or fewer employees and 1 million or less in gross receipts per year. Tier 2 is 100 or fewer employees and 10 million or less in gross receipts per year. And Tier 3 will be the current definition, 300 or fewer employees with $30 million or less in gross receipts. This legislation is, we're considering it enabling legislation. This will allow for future procurements by the state of Georgia to laser focus in different areas of small business, not just one big box, but in these tiers. We don't have any, it won't have any fiscal cost, and all we're doing is subdividing our current definition. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you. We've got a question here online from Representative Kendrick.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. What is the SBA's definition? Is it 500 and under? And if it's 500 and under, is there going to be a gap between the 300 employees and under and what the SBA definition is?
This isn't based on the SBA. This is simply for state procurement, and state procurement defines small business is 300 or fewer employees and $30 million or less in gross receipts. This is not pertinent to the SBA.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have another question from Representative Robichaud.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman, for bringing this bill. Just one question. I understand the concept of utilizing these differentiations for procurement, but do you also see it in the future, or hopefully soon, also utilize other state agencies using it to, say, develop very specific programs, to enhance and or support these 3 different tiers of small businesses, so that what they might allocate and do for a small business with 10 or under employees would be very different. And that could be used in that way too, to help define those kinds of training programs or promotional programs type thing, besides just procurement.
Yes, yes, ma'am, Representative. This is the first step. I'm very, very proud of this committee, and I'm even more proud of our members. We're trying to get started, and this was basically low-hanging fruit. And we want to see what happens once this gets started, see how we can benefit small business in the state of Georgia, add some relief for these ladies and gentlemen that made some presentations today. And that's our goal. But as I said, this simply deals with procurement at some future time. We definitely want to look at any other areas where we can create a tier system for defining what small businesses are.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, we will, we have a question pop up right here. Oh, okay, a motion? All right, this is the proper time.
I move that we pass this out of committee with a do pass recommendation.
All right. We have a motion and a second, and we're going to do we're going to do all in favor. We're going to do the online first, and we're going to say all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, now the ones here in person, all in favor, say aye. All opposed online? All opposed in person?
Aye.
Oh, we got one no. So opposed in person, everybody good? All right, do pass. On to the Rules Committee. That's smart, everybody, to go with the chairman there on his bill. That's a good bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I appreciate this.
All
Thank you
right,
very much.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right.